novels, also known as penny horribles, penny bloods, penny awfuls, and blooders, were popular in Victorian England, having their heyday in the 1860s and 1870s. With roots in Gothic novels, these sensational serials offered outlandish tales of adventure, villainy, horror, and romance. Printed on cheap paper and sold for a penny apiece, they weren't made to last, which is why so few copies exist. This particular dreadful was published in 1890, at the tail end of the penny dreadful glory days, and published in the States, which never had the same appetite for the outlandish as the British Victorians. I read The Incomplete Blooder and almost immediately dismissed it as total fiction. Saints and Outlaws is the story of a young female adventurer traveling through Colorado who gets caught up in a stagecoach robbery. The robbers kidnap her, for no reason other than that the author needed a kidnapping in the first few pages, it seems, and our heroine soon discovers they are women disguised as men. The adventurer joins the gang, and over the 5 surviving chapters, the gang is portrayed as Robin Hoods of the Old West, master con artists, lovers, and finally, revenge-seeking horsemen of the apocalypse. It was entertaining, and I longed for the complete blooder, but the story and characters bore no resemblance to any historical figures I'd come across in my study of the Old West. I filed it away, moved on, and forgot about it. It wasn't until 5 years later that I came across an essay about Opal Steele Driscoll, a prostitute turned miner's wife turned society lady, and the throwaway mention that she played the accordion. It was such an unusual quirk that it reminded me of the penny dreadful I'd been sent years earlier. I pulled it out and discovered that there had indeed been an accordion-playing prostitute in the penny dreadful. The essay stated that Opal Steele Driscoll had claimed to run with the Spooner Gang, but she was a notorious liar, and her claims were dismissed. You may think this is a very thin connection, and you're right. But the idea that this fictional female gang might be based on truth had firmly planted itself in my imagination, and no respectable women's historian would ignore such a possibility. Bigger histories have been uncovered from less. I put the word out to my fellow historians to be on the lookout for anything related to a group of female outlaws, and decided to start the search with the Penny Dreadful's eponymous outlaw. Margaret Parker was too normal a name for the heroine of such an outlandish adventure story. The census records for 1870 and 1880 turned up no good matches, but that isn't surprising. Emigration was constant, and Margaret Parker could have lived in Colorado for 9 years and not been included on the census. So I turned to newspapers and found her obituary. I will elide the details of the next 5 years. My editor says no one's interested. They want to read the story. Research takes time, and when it's a side project, it takes even longer. It's been 10 years since I received the unexpected package from my friend, and I think I've finally pieced together the story of Margaret Parker, Hattie LaCour, and their gang through a journal, an oral history, a detective's case file, newspaper accounts of the time, telegrams, and specialty histories of towns, prostitutes, and the suffrage movement. You'll also note that while the journal and oral history are similar enough that you know there were 3 women experiencing the same events at the same time, the official accounts tell quite a different story. It's up to you, the reader, to decide which is more likely. That the same story told by 3 women 60 years apart would tell strikingly similar false stories, or that the newspapers at the time told the truth. The whole endeavor was eye-opening in a way I never expected, and I'm forever thankful to my friend, who saw a brittle antique blotter about the Old West and thought of me. Margaret Parker and Hattie LaCour were real. They existed, and they were magnificent. Dr. Stephanie Bailey, University of Colorado, December 15th, 2017. Part 1. The Legend of Hattie LaCour. Chapter 1. WPA Slave Narrative Collection. Second interview with Henrietta Lee by Grace Williams.
Saturday, September 5th, 1936.